They are now outside the Arkan Island. It makes Ed can feel the flow of magic in the necklace began to weaken. Even so, to be safe the necklace still has to be taken further, otherwise, the Saint Dragon will still be resurrected, and what makes the situation worse is now, the person he is currently fighting, the third apostle of Telos, Tal'Dorek, the swiftest blade. He is probably the strongest opponent Ed has faced until now. The reason why Tal'Dorek got the nickname the swiftest blade is because of the skills he has, high-level sacred law magic, Holy Vessel Awakening, using the Sacred Law skill, converts all magic power into physical energy. By using this skill, he can move as fast as lightning. Ed remembered that Tal'Dorek had used this against him in several time loops before. Tal'Dorek's top speed was able to surpass the speed of sound. Tal'Dorek moved very quickly and was able to close the distance from him in an instant. Tal'Dorek's speed was really very fast. Ed realized that avoiding his attacks by relying on eye sense alone was impossible. He didn't even have time to blink, and Tal'Dorek instantly arrived behind him, but, facing Tal'Dorek's attack that was about to hit him, Ed suddenly closed his eyes. Ed realized that he would not be able to see his attack, so, when Tal'Dorek forcefully thrust his spear towards him, and when the spear almost cut off his head, something inside Ed suddenly triggered, and a wolf-shaped whirlwind then formed protecting his body. It was the blessing of the wind. When receiving an unexpected attack, the blessing would launch a strong gust of wind that made the enemy fly away. Even someone like Tal'Dorek was unable to withstand the push created by the blessing. This was a counterattack that he could only use once at a time. Ed realized that he could not waste the slightest opportunity. He had to aim for that small gap. He then cast intermediate fire magic, focused explosion, and threw it at Tal'Dorek. The combination of his attacks succeeded in knocking Tal'Dorek back, but the attack could not knock him down and could not even make him seriously injured. It only made him angrier. Ed was not surprised to see that. He realized that this was indeed his weakness. He always lacked firepower, but he wasn't fighting alone. Tarkhan then stood behind him and said to him, "If it's about firepower, you can count on me." Tarkhan is a high-level spirit. He's impervious to magic, and has overwhelming firepower. With just a burst of his fire breath he was able to scorch the lush forest in front of him, but, such a powerful attack was not enough to even hurt Tal'Dorek. He was able to avoid his fire breath by jumping upwards. His jump was so high that Ed could only see his small figure in the sky. After that, with a speed that could not be seen with the naked eye, Tal'Dorek then forcefully thrust his spear into Tarkhan's head. Tarkhan roared in pain as a result of his attack. When viewed from a broader perspective, the attack Tal'Dorek launched was truly so powerful that it resembled a divine punishment. His one attack directly fell a high-level spirit like Tarkhan. Just before returning to the spirit realm, Tarkhan regretfully apologized to Janica. Janica should be controlling a high-level spirit right now. The magic she gave Tarkhan must have also reached its limit. This is the worst scenario for Ed, because he faced someone as strong as Tal'Dorek alone. Even so, Ed did not retreat. When Tal'Dorek stood back up after launching his attack, Ed was preparing his attack. He then took aim, and fired several water arrows at him. But, Tal'Dorek was then confused because the water arrows he fired missed all even when he did not try to move away. Ed did that on purpose. It was part of his plan. When the water arrow touched the ground and became a puddle, Ed then muttered, "Ignition." His fire magic immediately vaporized the puddle created by the fall of the water arrow, and made the environment where they were currently filled with smoke. Seeing that, Tal'Dorek immediately knew what Ed was planning. He was not confused let alone panicked when his sense of sight was almost completely blocked at this time. After closing his eyes for a while, he then slashed his spear to the side. His attack successfully hit Ed. It seemed that this kind of trick would not work against Tal'Dorek. This kind of trick was too obvious to him. The attack slashed Ed's chest, which made blood flow directly from the wound. This made Ed inevitably admit that Tal'Dorek was indeed very strong. He could only think of one way for him to win this fight. Merilda, at that time, in one of the timelines, he sacrificed himself to restrain Tal'Dorek's movements, and let Merilda finish the rest, but the price he paid was his own life. But the problem was, Glast's golden phoenix ring was now being used by Janica. He had also never managed to fully summon Merilda using his own power, but Ed did not just give up hope. He thought there must be a way. But the situation he was facing at the moment unfortunately did not allow him to think calmly. When Ed cast defensive magic, Tal'Dorek then attacked again to destroy the shirlet that protected his body. After a few swings of the spear, Tal'Dorek then stuck his spear to the ground, and launched a powerful kick towards him. the kick instantly shattered the shield protecting his body and hit his body. Ed spit out a mouthful of blood as a result of the attack. A little despair appeared in his eyes at this time. He wondered if there was no other way. Taldarek's kick was really so strong that it threw Ed far back and broke the rock wall he hit. The attack almost broke all of Ed's bones and made him unable to stand up. Seeing that, Taldarek did not stop his attack. He then thrust his spear towards him in order to take his life. Ed could only stare helplessly when he saw that. He really couldn't do anything else at this time. And when Taldarek's spear was about to hit him, the familiar sensation reappeared, rushing up to his brain. It was the sensation of death. At this time, his memories from the beginning of his time travel until now suddenly appeared in his mind, from him constantly dying in Clarice's arms, to him trying to survive in the northern forest as a result of being kicked out of the dormitory. Those memories kept replaying in his mind, running in reverse. Suddenly, Ed realized something. And just when Taldarek's spear was about to pierce his head, he was then shocked and confused because he could not move his spear any further. When all his memories during this time travel were played in his mind, Ed realized something. Whether it was celestial magic or resonance with spirits, the way to learn magic was not much different, and at this time, Taldarek suddenly felt something from behind him. In these time loops, he had faced failure many times, memories piled up with courage and determination. Desperate struggle without giving up, a history of seemingly meaningless effort, until finally, Ed had now finally managed to summon the full manifestation of the high-level spirit, Merilda. The reason why Taldarek was unable to continue the pace of his spear was because his wings were currently being bitten by Merilda. Taldarek grimaced in pain from the bite, but, when his attention was distracted by Merilda's sudden appearance, he then felt something from the direction in front of him. It was Ed who forcefully hit his head against his head. The reason why Ed could summon Merilda was not because he was suddenly enlightened, it was simply because he had done it repeatedly until he mastered it, also known as repetition leads to mastery. The impact of his head made blood come out of Taldarek's mouth and made him growl in pain, but, it was not able to subdue him. He then counterattacked Ed and hit him right in the face. Not only that, he then took back his spear and launched an attack on him. No one can immediately do something well on the first try. No one can do it well from the start, and you never know if it'll even work out. But so what? Was it even any different? Seeing the attack launched by Taldarek, Ed then ordered Mug to block it. Everyone fights to survive, for their own reasons, just to keep themselves alive, and when Taldarek was knocked back by Mug's attack, a pool of water suddenly appeared behind him and formed a water lioness. It was the intermediate water spirit, Leisha. And when Leisha bit Taldarek's wrist to stop his movement, Ed did not waste the opportunity she created. He then condensed the mana spear in his hand, and thrust it firmly into Taldarek's chest. Taldarek screamed in pain as a result of the attack. There are so many people in this world who are fighting desperately just to survive, fighting desperately among those people. Ed did not stop there because he could feel that Taldarek was still alive. He then used his fists to repeatedly attack him. His fists were now covered in Taldarek's blood as a result of the attacks he had launched, until finally, he then stopped. To survive, you need twisting and straining your body while gritting your teeth. Only after doing so, you can live. That was the situation Ed was in right now. He was facing an opponent that was almost impossible to defeat, but in the end, he was the one who had the last laugh. He then stood up and quickly left there, leaving Taldarek's body lying stiff on the ground. Ed realized that he didn't have much time left. He then reached into his pocket, and took out Velbrock's ancient Fong necklace. There were still things he needed to do at this time, when Ed managed to defeat Taldarek and survive. Meanwhile, inside the chapel, Clarice glared angrily at the Holy Emperor Eldane and asked him, "How much longer are you going to stay silent?" The Holy Emperor Eldane could only look on in shock at her outburst. Clarice told him firmly that he must immediately remove Archbishop Verdio from his position, but, while Clarice was convincing Holy Emperor Eldane, Verdio certainly wouldn't just stay silent. He respectfully called him and asked him, "You must have more confidence in me than a saintess who knows nothing, right? Aren't we all here for a better future of the order?" Clarice sneered when she heard Verdio say that she didn't know anything. She then exposed the vile scheme he had been plotting all along. "You intend to use Velbrock's ancient Fong necklace to resurrect the Saint Dragon, right?" They were both shocked when they heard that. Verdio then incredulously asked her how she knew that. Clarice continued, "You've tried countless times to hunt down the Saint Dragon, but not once has the Church ever succeeded in slaying it. Your plan will fail." Verdio could only feel confused and surprised when he heard that. Seeing the confusion on their faces, Clarice then showed the scar on her wrist and told them a surprising fact, after repeating the same time where you all failed countless times. That's why I'm standing here now.